Welcome everyone to another edition of Snap Raise Live Leaders and Legends. We were not able to get Jordan Morris on video, but we have him on audio, so you're not going to be able to see his smiling face, but we are going to be having him here for about the next hour. Encourage you to submit questions through the GoToWebinar side control panel. There's a place where you can ask questions, and definitely want to get as many of them answered as possible. We've got over 150 people with us, so might not be able to get to every question, but some great representation from the state of Washington. I know we've got Coach Ian Moss out of Cobb County down in Georgia. We've got programs all over the country with leaders, players, parents, and boosters all joining us today. So we're pumped to be here and excited to have Jordan with us. The way that Jordan arrived on this webinar, his brother works for our company, Snap Raise. He works in finance, and so we help teams, groups, and clubs across the country to raise money for whatever they need it for. We work with tons of soccer programs, including many in the great state of Washington. And Jordan, we couldn't be more elated and thrilled to have you with us today.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Well, going to ask the burning question that everyone undoubtedly wants to know is, how did you get to be so much better at the sport of soccer than your brother?
Man, I was just, I think, blessed with the speed gene in the family, I guess. No, but in all seriousness, Chris was a big inspiration to me growing up. We joke with each other, but I kind of followed him into soccer, and I think whatever he was playing, if he was gonna, if he was younger and playing football or baseball or whatever, I probably would have followed him into that. So we had the same club coach growing up, and I looked up to him a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, and he's talked about his soccer career fondly and how he was a great assist guy, great with points, and you've been great with the goal scoring. Maybe talk a little bit about your season last year, winning the MLS championship with the Sounders, and how great it is to be performing at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, man, it was such a crazy year, and the year before, coming off an injury that kept me out for the whole season. So to come back and just being able to be on the field again was such a great experience. I think I kind of shifted my mentality and was just grateful to be playing every day, and I think that helped lead to a successful season. But to win a championship with the Sounders and playing at home in the final was something that you always dream about. And growing up here in Seattle, just being able to win a championship in your hometown and in front of your friends and family was something that was pretty special.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Gonna start off with a tactical question here from a player in Washington, Eli Magallanes, asking what your daily soccer schedule is for practice and workouts, and then I guess maybe for rehab or prehab and some of your body maintenance stuff.
Yeah, definitely. When it's kind of a normal, obviously things aren't super normal right now, but when it's a normal season, going to training and get there. Training for us starts around 10:30, so get there at 9 and do a bunch of prehab work. And the training staff in Seattle has done a really good job of putting together a great prehab kind of schedule for me to help avoid injury and things like that. So go in and do that in the morning, and that takes a lot of work. I think that's just something that's so important, and you don't always realize it, especially as a young kid growing up. I never liked stretching. I never liked doing that extra work, but it's so helpful, and maintenance of your body is so important. And so definitely gotten more into that recently to help kind of prevent injury and things like that. So go in and do that, and then we train from around 10:30 to 12:30, and then after do some other rehab type stuff, or a couple of times a week we do a lift as a team. So that's kind of the daily routine.
I think people forget that it's a full-time job. They think you just show up on game day and you go out there and you score the goals and you win, you lose, and then you move on to the next one. But it really is a lifelong commitment to improving. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. I think you always want to keep getting better, and I think it's something that, like the team this year, we came in preseason and coming off a championship, you could kind of rest on that and be like, oh, we won last year. This year doesn't, we don't, whatever happens, happens. But I think everyone was hungry to win another championship. And every year you have that same goal to go out and become the best player you can be and accomplish your goals every year. I, kind of make a goal list at the beginning of the year of things that I want to try to accomplish as an individual and as a team. And to do that, it takes a lot of hard work and continual work to get better. So I think it's definitely a lot of the people playing for the Sounders have been training for this since they were kids, and it was something they've wanted for their whole life. So it's definitely a big commitment, but something that we're all passionate about, obviously. So.
Well, I'm going to do my best to get to all these questions. They're flooding in, so you're going to hear less about me and more from other people. So this is from a parent, Jennifer Sopananglo, if I'm saying that right. I'm sure I butchered it, but she wants to know how you improve your left foot and how you've done that throughout your career.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just important. What I would say is it's important to work on things that maybe are uncomfortable. Finding the things that you aren't quite as good at and working on those is something that's so important to become a more well-rounded player. So obviously, my left foot is my weak foot and my weaker foot, and so I found that I definitely needed to work on that to improve that because just makes you, like I said, a more well-rounded player. And when I made the switch, I used to be a forward, and I made the switch to playing winger, wide mid, and I knew that kind of I was going to be using my left foot a lot more and putting in crosses and things like that. So it was something that I just really focused on trying to get better at.
This comes from a player, Chloe Fredrickson, and wanted to know how you felt through your injury. I had an ACL injury myself, and I know that you've got to have a determined mindset, but the doubts or the limiting beliefs maybe linger in. And I guess where were you at in terms of believing you could come back to 100%, and how did you feel, I guess, once you found out you got injured and then throughout the recovery process?
Yeah, I mean, that was I'm not gonna lie, it was definitely a really, really tough year at points. I remember getting injured. We were playing in El Salvador, and for those of you that don't know, my dad is actually the team doctor for the Sounders, and he specializes in ACLs and doing ACL surgery. So I'd heard a lot about them growing up, and so when I got injured, I knew pretty much exactly what it was. I felt a pop and just knew that it definitely wasn't going to be good. So it was kind of a unique experience where my dad had to be the one to tell me that I tore my ACL. But again, I kind of knew already before he said anything, just by when he came out on the field, the expression on his face and stuff. So, but through the rehab process, there were definitely a lot of ups and downs. And I think it's so natural that this doubt creeps into your head, that will you come back the same player, that kind of thing. And so there were definitely those ups and downs for me. But what I found so important was focusing on the little victories throughout the rehab process. Because if you look at it all as this one big process, it's going to feel so long. And I remember going back in right after my surgery and pretty much learning how to get your gait normal again and walk normal again. And you're like, man, I'm so far away from being back out on the field, and it can be a little bit daunting. But if you take those little victories, learning to walk normal, and then learning to, getting back on the bike and doing some rotations, and then you obviously progress bigger and bigger and bigger, it seems a little bit less daunting, and you can celebrate those little victories. But I think what kept me going, the motivation was, I was driving past the stadium every day to go into training, and I just couldn't wait to be back out on the field and experience that again. And I knew that every day what I put in was going to lead to a successful season next, the following season. So it was hard to stay motivated at times. I was fortunate to have a great support staff around me, which helped a lot as well. But I think keeping that motivation was so important.
That's awesome. We've got quite a few players in here. So we've got Liam Shoemaker wondering, how did you become a Nike athlete?
Yeah, coming out of college, I always, for the most part, I always wore Nike shoes or Nike cleats and enjoyed, loved Nike, the brand in general. And so coming out of college, for me, it was really they approached me, and it was kind of a no-brainer because I just love that brand, love the cleats, love everything that they're about. So I decided to go with them. But again, it was kind of a no-brainer.
There are some fun questions in here. Here's another one. Jason Menoris asking, do you have a six-pack?
I like to think so. I don't know, but I like to think I do. And with the summer coming around, trying to work on it. So
There you go, beach muscles. Zach Marini asking how you deal with pressure on game day, especially for a rivalry game against the Timbers.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's something that is learned over time. I remember I used to get much more nervous than I do now. And I think, honestly, obviously, of course, I wish I didn't have my ACL injury and that experience, but I think it taught me so many things. And like I said, in coming back last year, I think one of the big changes in my mentality was that I was just so grateful to be out in the field, because when it's taken away from you for a year, you realize how much you truly miss it. And there were days where I was just crushed that I couldn't go out and be training with my teammates, or I'd sit in the stands watching the game. And so when I go out and play in these big games, it's just such to me, I think about it as such a blessing, to be able to do what I get to do for a living is just a dream come true. And after that year, it's something that, I never take for granted. Every day, stepping out on the training field, stepping out in these big games, it's an opportunity that's so special and one that I really relish. And I think that switch in my mindset has really caused me to feel less nervous about games and more just excited for the opportunity.
Do you feel like it maybe unlocked even more potential for upside for you and peak performance?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I feel like I came back a better player, and I think a lot of that had to do with the new mentality that I approached the game with. So, I think things happen for a reason sometimes, and of course, kind of wish I didn't go through that, but I think it taught me a lot of things.
Awesome. Coach Moss down in Cobb County is asking what your favorite drill to use when you're trying to figure out how to finish the ball better. So he's wondering what your best drill is that way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a specific drill. I think it's really practicing the things that are realistic to what you're going to get in a game. And so for me, it's a lot of, and every player is a little bit different. Sometimes you see shooting drills where it's just, you play the coach, they lay it off and you shoot. It's not quite as, they're really fun, but maybe not quite as realistic. But for me, a lot of my chances maybe come on through balls and behind, and I'm one-on-one with the goalie, and I have to take a side and with either foot and finish that way. And so it's finding those things that are realistic to you that are going to come about in a game, and really working on those. And I think that those are main ones that a lot of times happen for me. So I think it's working on that kind of finishing.
Bryce Berry out of the Wentworth Institute of Technology all the way up there in Boston, Mass. is wondering what your main motivation was that drove you to work as hard as you did to reach the level of play that you're at today.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it, I always loved sports, and I wanted to, that's kind of the basis of it. I always thought I wanted to be a professional athlete. I grew up watching the Seahawks, the Mariners, the Sonics when they were here, and I was just like, man, I don't whatever sport I end up in, I want to be a professional in something. And then I just dedicated myself to soccer only when I was about 14. But I think one of my main motivations was I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 9 years old, and it was almost when I fully understood what was going on, maybe around 14, 15, I really made it a challenge that I wasn't going to let this hold me back from accomplishing what I wanted to accomplish. And so I knew that was going to take a lot of hard work and, have to kind of deal with this extra thing, but it was almost a challenge against myself that I wasn't going to let that hold me back. And so all that hard work that I put in was to just show myself and my family and everyone that I wasn't going to let it hold me back from getting to where I wanted to be.
Will you just touch on the impact that the Jordan Morris Foundation has on helping athletes, with type 1 diabetes and anyone really, just, what your mission is with your foundation? Yeah,
definitely. I think when I came back from college and signed with the Sounders, I started this foundation with my family, and the whole idea was to be able to give outreach to kids and pretty much give that message that diabetes can't hold them back from accomplishing whatever their goal is. And when I was growing up, I had people that I looked up to that were playing professional basketball, football, and some other sports with with type 1, and I was like, man, if they can do it, why can't I? But I was never able to talk to them or hear their story or kind of get advice off them. So this idea came to myself and my family that we could start this foundation and just have outreach to kids and tell them that message that everything, is going to be good, and with hard work they can accomplish with it whatever they want to accomplish. And over the last 4 or 5 years, that's been such an amazing part of my life, and something that's super rewarding. And my favorite program that we do is after every home game and now away games, I meet with a T1D kid and their family after the game on the field and just talk to them and hopefully give them some inspiration. So it's been a really cool experience.
Awesome. Player here in the state of Washington, Paul Davidow, wants to know how old you were when you started playing soccer and what your record for goals in a game is.
Yeah, I started playing soccer, man, when I was really young. Before I can really remember, I'm sure around, I was always kicking the soccer ball around, but 3 or 4, I was out there in the backyard kicking the ball around. So, yeah, I remember my mom actually tells me this story. I don't know how old I was, maybe 5, 6, and I went to Chris actually went to a soccer camp, and I was a little bit too young to play, and I was so frustrated. My mom went up to the coach, Pete Fewing, Seattle University's head coach, and asked if I could train, just because I really wanted to be out there playing. So I've been playing for a long time, and it's something that I've always loved to do. And yeah, and then my record of goals in a game is 3. Pretty recent actually with the maybe when I was younger in a game.
What about all time? Yeah, your best game ever?
I did, actually, in high school, I remember I had 4 in a game.
Come on, there had to be some youth games where you were just scoring like unconscionable numbers.
I honestly can't remember. When I was a kid, I wasn't a forward or anything. I was a center mid, so I wasn't scoring as many goals. But I'm sure when I was like a little kid, there was a game where maybe I had some more.
It's good to be setting PRs when you're playing professional soccer, though. So I don't want to cheapen that at all.
No.
Bruce Schulzenberg out of Rogers, Minnesota, Rogers High School, wants to know what the best lifts or exercises to do in season and out of season are. And I suppose maybe you can only speak to your personal experience, but what do you do for lifts and exercises to stay fresh in season, and then maybe to build muscle or to build speed or maintain strength out of season?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of what I do in season is strengthening of specific areas that are kind of weaker to me, and that could potentially lead to injury. So we do these movement screens at the beginning of the season, and they identify these different areas that maybe you're a little bit weaker at. And so a lot of the lifts are centered around improving strength in those areas in order to avoid injury. And I think something for me during season, it's a lot of maintenance stuff. So it's not trying to get big, obviously. It's a lot of, like I said, strength, core work, just maintenance on your legs and stuff like that. So you don't get too bulky, but you're staying strong and fit. And so again, it's a little bit hard. It's individualized to everyone. Everyone on our team actually has different lifts that they do throughout the year. Our strength and conditioning coaching staff has done a really good job. They put together individual lifts based on those screens that we do at the beginning of the season. So yeah, it's a little bit individualized, but a lot of in the season stuff is just strengthening those areas that need a little bit of work.
Yeah, and I think that's great. You bring up the individualization, because the wants and needs of everyone are important. And so I played football, and what a quarterback needs is a lot different than what an offensive lineman needs. So lifting specific to the skill set that you're trying to further. Ava Ricardo wants to know what youth club you played for, and maybe you can just touch on your youth experience.
Yeah, I played for Eastside FC around here in my youth career. It was awesome, a lot of fun. I had a great coach, Dan Strom, who was also, like I said, Chris, my brother's coach as well. And so we knew him well. The family knew him well, and he was he pushed us even as kids to work hard and to get better. And so I think he taught me a lot of things about hard work and how to approach training every day, and how to approach games and things like that. So he was a big influence in my life, but I loved it. It was an awesome experience. Made some great friends there. We had a pretty competitive team. We'd go to travel to California and other places to play in these big tournaments, and it was a great way to develop. And then when I was 17, 18, senior year of high school, I switched and played for the Sounders Academy for a year before heading off to college. So that was kind of my youth career around here.
And how many state cups did your team win?
So I played for Eastside for, 11, 12.
That's a question from Chris, by the way.
Okay, for 7 years. I played for them for 7 years. I think we won. We either won 5 or 6 and then lost in the final and won, or I think we almost won every year, which was awesome. We had a good team. So.
Yeah, Chris is reporting back 6, so that's darn good.
Okay, that's, I think, lost the final the other year.
Heather Reed wants to know how you eat before a game. I know people can have different dietary restrictions. You, especially with diabetes and just fueling yourself for competition. And then I know sometimes you have a hectic, hellacious schedule where you've got to go from playing MLS to men's national training. So I guess what does your diet look like?
Yeah, it's actually kind of been an interesting last couple of years, at least a year or so, working with my diet. Again, I know this isn't super helpful for everyone, and when I talk to diabetics, I always say it's so important to get into a routine, especially for me with having diabetes. You get into a routine of foods that you eat before a game. So I eat the same kind of food before a game, the same kind of food before training, because I know exactly how it'll affect my blood sugar and how I'll be able to maintain that throughout the game. But the national team actually has put us on kind of this low carb, high fat diet that uses fat as an energy source rather than carbohydrates. And for me as a diabetic, that's been so helpful in maintaining my blood sugar, because I always talk to my dad about how when I was done playing soccer, I was going to go on this low carb diet because it helped make my blood sugar so much more stable. But I never thought while I was playing, because obviously you think of carbs as your main energy source, so that I'd be able to do that. But I've kind of switched to this new diet, gotten into a routine before training, before games of exactly what I eat. And again, that's just finding what feels good to you, what feels right to you. And I think it's been super, super helpful and super successful. But again, I think it's just so important to get into a routine so you know exactly how that food is going to affect you when you're playing.
Gotcha. Ella Smith is asking if you were a multi-sport athlete growing up.
Yeah, I was. I played baseball and basketball. I think baseball was my other main sport. I loved it. I think it was such a cool, fun experience to be able to play like some of these sports with your best friends, and something that I'll always remember. It was so much fun. And so really I was actually trying to make the decision between baseball and soccer. And when I was about 14, my club coach was with Eastside was like, you got to focus on one. If you really want to be good, you got to focus on one of those. And I chose soccer because it's really what I love to do. So, but I think growing up with multiple sports was super helpful.
Sal Acevedo, a coach at Freedom High down in California, says, congrats on your success. Jordan, what were some of the biggest obstacles you faced while growing up in trying to attain the level of play that you reached? He said he's sure that it was not an easy ride. Your players would love to hear how you overcame adversity.
Yeah, definitely. I think I mentioned diabetes before. That was an obstacle. And I think that the path to getting to where you want to be isn't, straight up all the time. There's different successes and failures that you have to learn from. I mean, I got cut from a lot of state teams growing up where it was really tough and frustrating. I would go with the state team to try to make the regional team, which they had back then, and I wouldn't make that. And I've had coaches tell me along the way that I wasn't good enough to play for this team or that team. And it definitely hurt at the time, but I think you know yourself better than anyone, and you know what it's going to take to get to the level that you want to get to. And so those failures or those words from coaches or whatever just motivated me to go out and prove myself right, that I was going to get to where I wanted to be. And like I said, like the ACL story was a big setback, obviously, but it completely changed my my mindset around the game and made me approach it in a whole new way. So I think having those negative experiences, maybe it sounds cliche, but having those negative experiences, you learn from them so much, and everyone's going to have them in their career. So just to push through those and learn what you can from them and keep pushing towards what you want to do, and don't let anyone tell you that you can't get there.
There you go. A local coach here in Washington, Zach Taylor, says, J-Mo, can you shed some words of inspiration as a community leader on the situation of COVID-19 and how you've been coping and what you've been doing kind of in the meantime?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's so important, obviously, with everything going on, that everyone's following the guidelines that are set forth. It's, I know everyone's having a little bit of a frustrating time, but it's saving a lot of lives and helping a lot of people. So I think it's obviously super important for me. Just trying to use the platform that all our Sounders are trying to use, the platform that we have to encourage people to stay home and follow all these guidelines of social distancing and things like that. So just trying to do our part in that. And yeah, it's been a lot of time spent at home, doing some home workouts and things like that. The team is doing some Zoom workouts where we Zoom together, and so we get to see each other's faces and stuff like that. So that's been good, but definitely encourage people to keep up the work with staying inside and following all these guidelines, because it's so important. It's helping to save a lot of lives.
Got a parent from New Jersey, David Najzinowitz, said, how did you get on the USA team? And he said, please ask him, please, 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 please. And I don't know, maybe a couple more pleases. So they really want to know, how'd you get on the USA team?
This is actually kind of an interesting story. When I was growing up, I always wanted to play for the youth national teams and was never good enough, never picked for that. When I was 18, playing for the academy, I got called into my first under 20 national team camp before they were heading off to the World Cup. And that was obviously amazing. I didn't quite make the World Cup team, but kind of got my first experience with playing for a national team. And then a year later, the full national team that was getting ready for the World Cup in 2014 came and trained at Stanford, where I was going to school as a freshman. So that the assistant coach for that team was Tab Ramos, who coached me with the U20 team a little bit. So he knew a little bit about me, and he told the head coach at the time, Jurgen Klinsmann, if we need an extra player in training or whatever, this kid has been a part of my team. We could bring him in just to train and take a look at him or whatever. And I think it was more just to fill in the numbers, but I never expected anything to come from that. And then I get a call that they want me to come join this training session. I was like, oh my goodness, this is a World Cup team. Landon Donovan, Clint Dempsey, Josie Altidore, Michael Bradley, all these guys are there that I looked up to for so long. And I was like, I've never even played a professional game, never done any of this. Like, how am I getting so lucky? They could have gone to train anywhere in the world, and they ended up at Stanford where I was. So I go into this training and have a decent training session, and the next day we scrimmage them, actually, because they wanted to get some fitness in. And fortunately I had a good game. I was actually able to score in that game, and that was where Jurgen saw me for the first time, was in this scrimmage against a college team. And it was just such I think it's such a unique way to get seen for the national team. It's so not normal, and I'm very fortunate for that opportunity that they came and trained at Stanford, because if they had gone somewhere else, my career may look a little bit different. So it was always my dream to play for the national team. I never expected it to come while I was at Stanford. And after that game, they went off to the World Cup. And then after the World Cup, Jurgen called me into the first camp right after that. And man, it was just such a crazy ride. So pretty fortunate for that opportunity.
Yeah, that's awesome and fun that it all came together that way. Um, got a question from Bree. Says, do you watch the EPL? And if yes, who do you support?
Yeah, I do watch the EPL. I wouldn't say I have like a specific team that I support. Growing up, I was kind of an Arsenal fan, but I don't really have any team right now that I support heavily. But I think it's obviously an amazing league and super fun to watch. So I love watching it.
Yeah, definitely. How many header goals have you scored? That's from Ava Ricardo.
That's a good question. I don't know the exact number. With the Sounders, I probably have like 6 or 7, something like that. So definitely, I'm not sure the exact number though.
Got a couple people asking about the elite player development platform. Do you have an opinion on that or a familiarity with it? This is Jason Pinnock asking.
Is that what, might need some clarification on that one.
Said, what's your take on the new MLS elite player development platform? That was his question.
Okay. I honestly haven't read about it too much or anything like that. I think it's obviously with the development academy going down, it's important to find another way to develop the youth in this country. So I hope that it's a really successful program, but I haven't looked into it too much. But again, yeah, I hope it's something that is successful for these kids, because I know playing in the academy was something that helped me develop a lot. So I hope the same for all the youth coming up through the system.
Got a question from David L. He said, how was Jeremy Gunn as a coach, and how did he compare or contrast with other coaches that you've had?
That's a great question. Man, Jeremy was one of the best coaches I've ever had, and he was my coach at Stanford for those that don't know, the head coach there, and he was really tough. He expects a lot from his players, and is a guy that gets the most out of his players because he pushes you to be your best. The way he thought about the game was so meticulous. We would work on little things that you'd never think to work on for hours at practice. Different throw-in plays, where with you never think that working on a throw-in is something that's important. Free kicks, corner kicks, making like specific plays out of those was something that was really important to him. Before the NCAA tournament, we would work on penalty kicks after every practice for a while. We work on penalty kicks, and he had such a specific way that he wanted his players to take the PKs, and we'd go out and just work on them over and over and over again. And you see through, Stanford won 3 national championships in a row, and you see through those runs the amount they won every single PK shootout that they were in, because he was so meticulous about working on it at practice. So he thought about the game in such a unique way that I had never experienced before, and every single little detail was thought out, and it was really special to learn under him, because I had never had a coach like that up to that point. So.
And you led Stanford to their first national championship, and then kind of set the table for the following ones. Is that it?
Yeah. So my junior year, we won a national championship, and then I left. I left to go play pro, and then they clearly didn't need me, because they went on to win two more. So no, it was awesome to watch. He's put together such a great program there, and some of the best times of my life at Stanford.
Coach in Washington here, Pete Tensmeyer, is asking, do you have a game day ritual?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about ritual, but I have routines that I like to get in. I take a nap on game day every day. I like to eat around the same times before games. Listen to similar music, get to the stadium around the same time. So definitely no like weird rituals or anything special like that, but have a little routine that I like to do before game days.
Yeah, a couple people are asking about that. What's your daily routine been like in quarantine? Eric Henderson's asking that, and what advice you'd give to young kids who are missing organized practices.
Yeah, I think it's tough, of course, for me as well, and for everyone that's going through this. It's tough to find ways to work out and stay, stay engaged with the ball, and find creative solutions to working out. But for me, it's getting up and getting that workout done at the beginning of the day. Again, I stress this a lot, but when we talked with the national team through all this, they stressed this as well, that it was just so important to get into a routine, or else you let the day slip away. So I think getting up and working out is a way to get that workout in, and if you let it, the time keep going, sometimes it gets hard to stay motivated. So getting up, working out, and then I'm actually taking some classes at this time, so doing some schoolwork, and my fiance and I just got a puppy, so she's been a lot of work, so we're staying busy, which is good. But for kids, I think it's just finding ways to stay motivated, keep working with the ball, whether that's inside, outside, just getting touches on the ball is always so important. So I think that's a big one.
So you talk about touches on the ball. We've got a question from Giuseppe Grammatico, and his son Luca is asking from Wall Valencia in New Jersey, what is your record juggling score?
Oh my goodness. This is going to be a lame answer. I don't know. I don't think I've ever, when I was a kid, I remember when I was a kid, my dad would give me little rewards if I remember one specifically, if I finally got to 10 juggles when I was a kid, he would take me back then to like Illusions or some like place where you could go play games, some arcade. But it's been a long time since I've, tried to juggle for as long as I can. So I'm not exactly sure what that would be, but
are you good at juggling? Are you good at juggling?
I would say I'm good at just like normal juggling, but like doing tricks, stuff like that, I'm okay, but definitely not great.
We've got another couple questions. So somebody wants to know what your favorite one-on-one move is, and then somebody else wants to know what your favorite celebration is. So if you got to make a move one-on-one to score the goal, and then what your go-to celebration would be.
Yeah, so my move is just a speed move, really. Nothing fancy. I like to drag it with my right foot and drag it across my body to my left foot, kind of going past the defender at the same time. So that's really my main move, something that I've been using a lot in the last few years. So, and then celebration, man, sometimes when I score, I don't even know what I do. There's times where everything just goes blank, and you're just so excited that you go out and celebration happens. But usually what comes out is I jump in the air and just do like a fist pump. But I don't have any. That's kind of my signature celebration, I would say. But that just kind of comes out of me being super excited and trying to put my energy somewhere.
Gavin Wunsch is asking, what's the best part about playing on the Sounders or on the United States men's national team?
Playing for the Sounders is just my hometown team, the team I grew up watching. I was in the stands for all these games, and then to be down on the field and win a few championships with them has been such a crazy cool experience, playing in front of my family and friends. I mean, my dad's on the sideline. It's just it's been super fun, and it's a team that's successful and competes for championships all the time. That's what you want as a player. And then playing for the national team is just such an unbelievable honor. When you go out there and you're wearing the jersey and wearing the crest, and you're listening to the national anthem, and you kind of realize what you're doing and representing your country. It's I remember listening to the national anthem for the first time before my first game, and I still get chills, but I just remember getting overwhelmed with emotion, knowing kind of how special of an opportunity it was to be able to represent your country. So definitely one of my big goals is to try and play in a World Cup someday, and that's one of my main focuses moving forward.
How did you enjoy the Gold Cup and winning the Gold Cup in 2017?
That was, yeah, awesome. One of my highlights, when people ask what my favorite goal is, that one always comes up, because winning an international trophy, something that's super special. It just goes back to being such an honor to play for the team, and in that game, we went up 1-0, and then Jamaica tied it up 1-1, and it was my fault. The goal was my fault because it was a corner kick, and my man scored. So I remember just having this big pit in my stomach for the rest of the game, and to be able to score and make up for my mistake was something that made me feel good, and something that just a night I'll always remember.
Zoe Nelson asks, when you were little, who was your favorite soccer player?
I looked up a lot to Wayne Rooney when I was growing up. I thought just his work ethic, his ability. He was a player that was super inspiring to me. So he's always one that I point to, and was able to play against him last year, which was a pretty cool experience. So I think Rooney was who I looked up to a lot growing up.
Have you seen that phenomenal goal where he's just working his tail off at midfield with I think when he was in the MLS towards the end of his career, and then he fires it into the box from like midfield and they score?
Yeah.
I mean, that was just phenomenal. Yeah, that was good stuff.
I think that's just a testament to him, because sometimes players, come over here that have had amazing careers and I don't know, take it easy or whatever, or think that it's going to be an easy league, and they show up and they realize that it's not. But he, like you saw his work ethic. That was towards the end of his career, to be one of the designated players for his team, to be such a high profile player, and to make a play like that where he works back and wins the ball and then creates an assist. I think it's just such a testament to his work ethic. And from players on the team that I know have said he's just a great guy off the field too. So that's always great to hear.
Nice. I believe JP Red from the U13 ECNL Spokane Sounders asks, how did you balance soccer when you were at Stanford? So academics, soccer, social life, how did you strike a balance there?
Yeah, it was, oh man, my dog. Dog's lying in there. Yeah, it was tough. I think what was really important was like setting forth a schedule, so you'd find time to get your homework done as well as train and that kind of stuff. But I've always obviously valued academics so much, and going to a school like that, it was so cool to see everything that was going on around you. It was such a humbling experience. I remember one of the stories coming back. I scored my first goal for the national team in college, and I came back and I went to the cafeteria or whatever, and you're surrounded by these people that are doing such amazing things, both academically and athletically, people who have won gold medals, created amazing things, and just some of the smartest minds in the country. So you'd come back and you'd be surrounded by that, and it was super humbling and pushed me to work hard both on and off the field. And I think just having that motivation to do both and realizing how important both of them are in your life was something that was important to me. So
we had the head volleyball coach on last week, Kevin Hambley, and he was phenomenal. Jessica Mendoza was phenomenal. People don't understand that's just how much of a bastion of greatness that Stanford campus is. I was up there in 2010. I played pickup basketball with Mark Madsen, who was a bench player for the Lakers, but he was just a phenomenal athlete, and everybody's pushing themselves to be better. And I guess, did you get a sense at Stanford that you had to rise to another level academically, personally, professionally? I mean, did you feel that in the environment there?
Yeah, 100%. I think that is what motivated me, both on and off the field. You'd see these people doing amazing things, academically, athletically, and I remember showing up there one of the first days and being like, what am I doing here? How did I get into this school? And then as the time went on, I think you realize that everyone there has done something so special. And it's just such a motivating thing to be surrounded by such amazing people. And it's something that has always pushed while I was there, and still, pushed you to continue to strive to be better at whatever you're doing. So both on and off the field, when I was there, I feel like I learned a lot, and a lot of that had to do with the student body around me.
As a parent of a child with type 1 diabetes, Juan Toro from North Carolina just wants to thank you for your leadership and being an inspiration for others out there. And I know that's a cause near and dear to your heart. So certainly gratitude from from our people here. So
Awesome. Thank you very much.
yeah, you got it. Got a lot of player questions here, so I'm trying to sort through them here. Isabella Andrade says, have you ever wanted to give up, with hard times, or have you always been positive?
No, I think there's definitely been times where I've felt frustrated and felt down, and whether that's with my diabetes or on the field, there's been times, especially as a professional, where when things aren't going right, it's really hard. I mean, you have this pressure, these fans that are expecting a lot from you, coaches that are expecting a lot from you, and when things aren't going right, it's only natural to get down. And I think trying to push through those can be really, really difficult sometimes. And what I tell myself is that this is something that I have always wanted to do. This is what I've worked for my entire life, and there's no reason to give up now. You know, I've come so far, and I've learned from so many of those failures in the past that this is just another one that I can continue to learn from. And I think pushing through those difficult times is really hard at points, but if you want to get to where you want to go, there's going to be those hard times, and I think it's just finding a way to push through those.
This is an interesting question, and I don't know that you'll have an answer for it, but I'm going to ask it anyway because the question box has been spammed by Chloe Fredrickson asking, can girls play with the Sounders? It is her dream. And so I'll start by saying I think that anyone can do anything that they want to. I guess this will be a platform for you to talk about women's soccer and if maybe how you would feel about having a woman on the team if she were capable of playing to the standard.
Yeah, I think that it's just so amazing. I think it's been awesome to see how much the women's league here has grown, and you see how accomplished like the women's national team is, winning World Cups, winning Olympic gold medals, winning all these amazing trophies and accomplishing such amazing things. And I think it gives such inspiration to everyone, but to all the little girls out there that are working so hard to get to where they want to be. They see these amazing women accomplishing these amazing things, and it's just so inspiring. It's so inspiring to everyone. And I know growing up, I had people that I would look up to, and I saw the women's team winning World Cups, and saw players like Mia Hamm, Abby Wambach scoring all these goals, and I think it's just so inspiring to everyone. And so I think that it's so great to have those goals and to have those dreams, and you just got to keep pushing towards them, and to have these amazing role models out there is really important to help you stay motivated. So
you don't have to let the cat out of the bag on this one necessarily, and I know that you like to keep a lower profile, but Narendra Pofli is asking, where do you and your team go when you win a game? Do you go to a special restaurant? So after games, I like to spend time with my family, and we'd find a place to eat or whatever. But I guess, what is your post-game routine? I know you take some time and engage with a type 1 diabetes person after typically a student or a youth. But what is your post-game routine?
Yeah, for the late games, usually just head home and hang out and have dinner. I mean, sometimes it can get to be pretty late, and after games, you're pretty jazzed. So I come home and hang out, maybe play some video games because I can't sleep with all the adrenaline running through. So that's something that I do. I think some of the afternoon games, when I have a little more time, I also enjoy going out to dinner with my family, finding a good place to go eat with my siblings and my mom and dad. So I think that's definitely something that we like to do as well.
Favorite goal and favorite assist? Those have been asked a couple times, so I guess maybe if any of them stick out to you, it's tough to maybe pick a favorite goal and favorite assist, because I guess some of them are on so many different circumstances, but maybe some of the ones that stand out. You already mentioned your Gold Cup winner.
Yeah, I think that's always my go-to for a favorite goal. Another one, the 2016 Western Conference Finals. I scored a goal to help send the Sounders to the first MLS Cup, which was a really exciting goal as well. Favorite assist, man, I'd have to think about that. Oh, I had this game in Orlando where I had a couple assists to Clint Dempsey when he was playing for the Sounders, and he scored a hat trick that game, and some of them were helping him score that hat trick, which was a pretty cool thing. So.
All right, just a couple more, some easier ones, maybe a little bit more just off the field. Do you play Fortnite? That's from Joel Malari.
I do play Fortnite. I've started streaming a little bit actually, so you can check out the stream if you want. But I play with Christian, my buddy on the team.
Are you good?
Walker's. I'm decent. I'm okay. Christian's really good. And then my buddy Walker Zimmerman with the national team. I play with him as well. So Fortnite right now, especially too, I think we're all looking for kind of a competitive outlet, and it's a good way to get some of that competitive, I don't know, to get some competition in. So
I've got two questions that you probably can't have the right answer for, but one is dogs or cats?
Dogs for sure.
Yeah, and you've got your puppy. What breed is it?
She's a sheepadoodle, so a sheepdog and a poodle mix.
Okay. And then Ronaldo or Messi?
Messi.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, both great players, obviously, but I think just some of the stuff Messi can do is pretty amazing. So,
a question about the Timbers. Do you get distracted by their songs when they sing and play the drums?
Honestly, when you're every once in a while when the game slows down, you can kind of hear the fans and hear the different songs and stuff like that. But when you're in the game in the zone, it's kind of all focused and you don't really get too distracted by things on the outside. So they have a great fan base. We have a great fan base. It's really fun to play against them. But I think sometimes you just kind of tune it out when you're out playing.
Well, this has overwhelmingly been a student and parent attended webinar, and so I appreciate you taking the time and answering some of these more fun questions. Any closing thoughts or final remarks that you'd like to add, Jordan?
No, I mean I think this has been awesome. I always enjoy the chance to talk and share my story a little bit. So I appreciate you guys having me, and I think it's awesome that you're doing this during this time. So.
Yeah, well, we've got people that appreciate what you're doing. Sam Bathurst, our rep out there in Seattle, says that Harrison's learning a lot and appreciates you taking the time to talk about this. I guess one final question, maybe selfishly, because I wore number 13 and I was born on a Friday the 13th. Why did you pick number 13, and do you have a special affinity for the number?
Yeah, again, I guess that goes back to my brother. I guess I don't know why he picked 13, but I followed him and just wore number 13. I followed him into soccer. I followed that number, so that's been a special number for me since I was growing up as a kid, and I've just kept it ever since.
Right on. Well, we're gonna keep getting Stanford people on here, hopefully. So we've got we're hoping to get David Shaw, but we've had Kevin Hambley, we had Jessica Mendoza, and so you're another great Stanford alum to have had with us, and we've got a cheerleading panel next week. The week after that, we've got a field hockey coach from Virginia Cavaliers who was previously at Michigan State, as you can see in that picture, Michelle Madison. So some really awesome guests coming up. Also, Mitch Haniger, we're going to have a Seattle Mariners on May 28th. He'll be joining us, and looking forward to continuing to churn these out to help our group leaders for teams, groups, and coaches with their fundraising needs, and then to stay busy and active and continuing to improve during the social distancing and the quarantining and everything. So, Jordan, thanks again. We really appreciate you, and look forward to everyone joining us on future Snap Raise Lives.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Take care.